there. Welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. Back after 7 weeks. Can't believe it's 7 weeks already. Hopefully, people haven't forgotten about me. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please leave a like and a subscribe as well. Really helps the channel. And get your comments into the show. It's just me today riding solo. I thought, being 7 weeks, a lot to talk about. People have already had their say, and it's already old news now. So I'll just give my 2 cents on everything. And then on Monday, we'll be back, hopefully with guests as well. So a lot happening with Spurs. But first things first, this is a Spurs channel. It's also a football channel. So we have to start with Pele and Vialli, news of both of their passing. I'm too young to have seen Pele play, but no doubt about it, one of the best of all time, and quite rightly so, always in that conversation. Winning the World Cup at such an early age, and how many World Cups he did win. And there's no doubt at all that players that came after him would have been influenced, certainly strikers would have been influenced by him, and you wouldn't have had some of the players that we've had that are influencing players now, like Harry Kane, without Pele influencing them in the first place. So huge loss to football that. And yeah, devastating news. And then Vialli this morning as well, pancreatic cancer. I had an uncle that passed with pancreatic cancer, so I can't stand cancer as it is, but I've got a special hatred for that type. I know how awful it is. And 58, no age at all. Not a fan of Chelsea, can't stand Chelsea, but yeah, rivalries aside at this point in time with news like this. He was a world star when he joined Chelsea as a player. A world star, and similar to when we got Klinsmann, world star coming to a team in the Premier League. And you just hear all the stories that you hear that people are telling. Scott Minto, Graham Souness, and just not just a player, manager, but a really nice person and just a humble person. So really sad to hear that as well. Again, 58 and pancreatic cancer. My uncle died of that, so I know how horrible and awful it can be. But yeah, not very nice at all. And Ian in the chat, how you doing, Ian? Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Please get your comments coming in. Really helps the channel, and hit that subscribe if you haven't done so already. So that's the non-Spurs stuff, which we have to talk about because they are two giants of the game, and just two horrible things, thoughts to all their families and friends, Pele and Gianluca Vialli. Before we kind of move on to Spurs as well, there was a little tournament called a World Cup that went on. Christian Romero, our World Cup winner, so we've got 2 now with Lloris as well, who won the 2018 one. And, you know, it puts to bed all the questions, who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, in my mind, I think. I saw Messi play when he played Tottenham, Barcelona, and just, but people say that Kane is unbelievable on his day. Messi was just, yeah. I mean, it was a great World Cup in terms of the football, in terms of the circumstances surrounding it. Absolute disgrace holding it there, and you know, they wouldn't hold the Women's World Cup there, so therefore shouldn't really be able to hold the Men's World Cup there either. I don't think. Infantino has said that he wants every country in the world to have a stadium named after Pele, and while that's a wonderful sentiment and everything like that, maybe get your own house in order first. Football's for everybody, but you're holding a tournament in a country that you know is prejudiced against women and homosexuals. So maybe get your own house in order first before you start all of that stuff. Although Pele does deserve some kind of recognition and constant recognition for what he's done in football. But yeah, the whole World Cup, the backstage of it, absolute disgrace. The actual football was superb, and some giant killings, some wonderful things happening. Ben in the chat, how you doing, Ben? Some wonderful things in the football inside, not so much for England. It's good to see Harry Kane has bounced back after that penalty miss. I can't remember him skying a penalty like that ever. My dad says he remembers him doing it for Spurs at one point. I don't remember that. But yeah, just really unfortunate. I think, not sure would have beaten Argentina. It was almost Messi on a mission to win that World Cup. Even a hat trick by Mbappe couldn't stop that. But what I loved about Romero as well is Mbappe. There were pictures of him when Kane missed a penalty, kind of cheering and being over the top. And when he won the World Cup, Romero returned the favour to him. Probably not great sportsmanship, but you know, Mbappe did it first. But yeah, the World Cup, the football, absolutely superb. Got some injuries though. We've got some injuries. The Charlison, the big one. Out for another five weeks or so, which is a real big blow. Luckily, Kane didn't get injured. Luckily, Son didn't get injured. Bentancur's got injured as well. He came off in Uruguay's last game. So big players that have got injured. Thankfully, not anything like I was fearing, like a broken leg or anything like that, or massively long term. But still not great. But yeah, World Cup is over now. Now we've got pretty much a game every 3 days for another month or two. So again, it's just what it was before, just too many games, and you know, my worry is that the World Cup, the football was superb, so FIFA will now, it's okay if we have a winter tournament because that works, and in terms of the players, come March, I think there'll be a lot of injuries because there'll be a lot of fatigue. People like Haaland, Kulusevski, although he's had a week off, now he's a month off, and now he's injured again as well. We need him back ASAP. But they should be all right. They won't have fatigue. But your Kanes, your Sons, your Højbjergs, your Bentancurs, this is just Tottenham. I think there'll be a lot of injuries and fatigue going on. So I really don't want another Winter World Cup. But, you know, it's not up to me, and money talks at the end of the day. Kane's World Cup. I forgot to put this on as well for Romero, so we'll give him a little shout out there. Happy that he won the World Cup. Kane's World Cup and bounce back. Now, I was really worried. He looked distraught, obviously, after that penalty miss. Understandably so. So I was worried he'd come back and a bit distraught. What I did like from Lloris is he went over to him, consoled him, and then it came out in the news that literally straight after the game, Lloris sent him a text message. So as much as I've got my criticisms about Lloris, certainly in terms of the football and his decision making, captaincy wise and leadership wise, that was a top thing to do. So I'm really pleased he did that and didn't wait like a couple of days. And he did it while presumably in the middle of celebrating getting through to a semi-final of a World Cup as well. So I think that speaks volumes about his professionalism, and I'm sure Kane appreciated it. But Kane has bounced back. Goal against Brentford. Very unlucky not to get a penalty, and which would have been the best thing for him. You know, put that out of his mind by scoring a penalty straight after in the first game after. And he hit the post as well. And then against Palace, unplayable in that second half. So it doesn't look to have affected him too much. Whether it will when we get a penalty and he takes the penalty remains to be seen. But I would have thought that if it was going to affect him, we'd have seen evidence of that by now. Villa game, non-existent, but then you can say that about most of our team. But we'll get onto those 3 games a little bit later on. But yeah, 18 months left on his contract as well. We're going to talk about transfers, Levy, Conte, and everything. But yeah, that worries me. 18 months on his contract, the whole gentleman's agreement previously that didn't come to fruition. We saw his little sulk. So I think there's much more than meets the eye to this, and will be certainly at the end of the season when there's a year left. Do you cash in on your best player, or do you try and convince him to stay and then run the risk of that not happening and you lose him for free and lose any money that you would have got, and he can go literally anywhere? At this moment in time, he can only go to teams that can afford him. And, you know, if people don't want him when he's free and only Chelsea do, and he wants to play football and stay in the Premier League, will he go to Chelsea? He's a Tottenham boy. Doesn't particularly want to upset the fan base, I wouldn't have thought. Excuse me. Had the flu over Christmas. That's why it was 7 weeks, not 6 weeks, and it's still lingering about. So yeah, would he go to Chelsea? I don't think he would, but if it was the only option available left to him, and he wants that Shearer record, can he really afford to have 4 months off of not scoring goals and not playing in the Premier League? I'd be devastated if he went to Chelsea. Man United, I'll be pretty annoyed about, but I wouldn't hate him if he went to Chelsea. It's another Sol Campbell for me. Let me get a drink first, otherwise, it's going to carry on for the rest of the show. That's better. So that remains to be seen, and a lot of his decision is going to be how we do in the rest of the season. What happens in January? What happens in the summer? What happens with Conte? There's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes about Kane, but previously, he'll sign. Now, not so sure. And then we come on to that. Levy and Conte seemingly at war. Probably a bit too extreme there. At war, maybe a bit strong, but we've got Conte saying in the papers, in the press, that he'll only stay if the club show the right ambition that he wants, and he's 100% confident of that. Other comments saying that we're not going to win the league, which, whilst you don't want to upset the players and everything like that, I think it's fairly obvious we're not going to win the league. So I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. If we were top of the league in Arsenal's position and he said, I don't think we're going to win the league because we're not good enough, I don't think that's the right thing to say. But at this moment in time, I think it is. In terms of will I stay, won't I stay? I don't think saying that in public helps. Some of the players look like they're not that bothered sometimes, and I don't think him saying that in public helps. Say that in private to Levy by all means. If you don't back me, I will leave you in the lurch, and you've got fan base here that don't particularly like you, and this could tip them over the edge. I couldn't care less. I'll go win somewhere else. Say that to Levy in private by all means, but in public, not sure. And like Ian says, it's going to be an interesting few weeks. It's maybe I shouldn't have done a show today with this cough. But when will it go? I've got a tickle in my throat. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And oh God. Apologies. It's going to be a theme of the show. Bobby K at work, so just quick drop to say hi. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers, Bobby, for watching. Really appreciate it, and the comment. Yeah, transfer window. You got Conte who wants to win leagues. He doesn't want to win top 4 places. He'd like to win an FA Cup, absolutely. But his sights are higher than that. He wants to win leagues, Champions Leagues. FA Cups are nice, but it's not the be all or end all. And yeah, that's because I have had this and makes talking even worse. Talking makes it even worse, and that's the cough. Yeah, a lot of stuff going around. I had it since the 28th, and it seems to not be going anywhere. Same here, but you get me put on mute, and rather than me prattling on, so it's not the end of the world if I start coughing. I didn't have anyone on here to obviously say my piece, and also so I could end it if it was getting too much. But maybe I should have had people on because then I could be coughing in the background while they're talking. But anyway, yeah. So Levy doesn't generally spend a huge amount of money, and obviously Conte demanding all of this, otherwise I'll walk. Doesn't sound like an idle threat from Conte. It sounds like a promise. Whereas Pochettino, I'll leave. He's not going to leave if Levy, doesn't do what he wants. So Levy has a decision to make: give Conte what he wants or not. And history would tell you he's probably not going to give him what he wants. And if Conte goes, and if Levy doesn't show the correct ambition and Conte goes, I cannot see Kane staying. I cannot see him renewing his contract. And then you've got the issue: sell him, cash in, or risk letting him go for free. If Kane goes, is Son going to want to go? I think he's got 18 months as well. We've seen their partnership and how much they like each other. If one of them goes, will the other one go, fuck this, I'm off as well? And there was a bit in the Villa game where it looked like Kane lip reading was, what's the fucking point? Now, that could have been a bad pass. It could have been a bad pass, or it could have been the whole situation. We don't know. I just saw a 5-second clip on YouTube, one of these videos that auto plays, not on YouTube, on Twitter, one of these videos that auto plays, you hover over it. So I don't know the context of it, but it's not good. It's not good. And do we cash in? And then if we do cash in and let's say get 75 million with Kane, are we going to have a Liverpool situation where that gets put into the team and where we need it? Again, with Levy, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There was a lot of I know Brian Daigle mentioned it about the stadium being listed as an entertainment stadium, a multi-entertainment stadium. I couldn't find that on the Spurs website, so I'm not sure where he found that, but I definitely saw it on his show, Tottenham on Tour. Make sure you check them out. What I saw on the Spurs website is Tottenham Hotspur's football stadium, but the one that Brian showed didn't mention anything about the football. Now, in terms of it being a multi-national stadium and a multi-event stadium, I've got no issues with that at all, because I think pretty much 95% of the fan base, when it was being built, knew that was the case, that it wasn't just built for the football, that it was built for other entertainment avenues, music, football, boxing, what have you, to generate extra money. I was under the impression it was to generate extra money, which was then going to go into the club. And that last part, I'm not sure that's happening. And if it isn't happening, that's what's winding me up about it. We're getting all this extra money. 2 Guns N' Roses gigs. We've got Chili Peppers coming up. We had Lady Gaga. We had a Tyson Fury match. We've got how many NFL games. If it's not going into the club, then that's where we've been sold a lie, I think. I was under the impression that it was going to go into transfers, into the club. However, paying wages so there's more money, therefore, that not being spent on wages to go into the transfer kitty, or this money just for the transfer kitty. So it's going to be a very, very interesting January. We're still early doors, but we're a week in. We've got 3 weeks left. You'd have thought with our defensive problems, I'll talk about the Brentford game in a minute, which was ridiculous. But you'd think that, during the World Cup, right, here's my list of players that I want and positions that I want. Go out and do your stuff. And then we wouldn't have a situation where come, the 20th of January, and we still haven't signed anyone. Now, there is an issue, obviously, and a potential, because I'm pretty sure we had it with Juventus last year, Kulusevski and Bentancur on the last day or the last days of the window. You can have them, but we need our players in first. I'm sure of that. I'm sure that's what happened there. And there's probably going to be an element of that in this January as well. But all we see, and these in the know nonsense Twitter accounts and everything who just write absolute crap to try and incite everything, don't help. This player we're interested in, Porro, I think it was, the right wing back from, I'm not sure where, Portuguese or Spanish club, I can't remember where. I read in on the same day that the club in question want 35 million euros for him and 75 million euros for him. So which is true, and we're interested in him. We're looking at him. We're pulling out. We're doing this. So they don't help. But the Spurs official can't really say anything because it's still another team's player. So you can't really come out and say, we've put a bid in for this. They've rejected it, because you've got to show some professionalism, some respect. We've seen what happened with Enzo Fernandez at Benfica and Chelsea, and the disrespect shown there. So you can't really do that as a Spurs official thing, and Conte can't do that in press conferences as well. You've got to have respect, because if it was Harry Kane, we would be pretty annoyed with another club talking about him in official capacity. But we've got to sign some players, I think. And for me, creative midfielder. I know the defence is all over the place, but here's my reasoning for the creative midfielder being the highest priority for me. Back in the Pochettino days, and I don't want to get back in my day. Back in the Pochettino days, the defence were superb, and they were superb because we had far, far better defenders than we got now, possibly Romero excluded in this current crop. But we had a midfield that kept the ball and didn't put the defence under undue pressure. When we were under the cosh a little bit, Dembele, Eriksen kept the ball for about 5-10 minutes, quashed any kind of momentum, and then we go again. Now, the pressure just keeps building. You've seen even Virgil van Dijk, if he's under a huge amount of pressure for long periods of time, even his concentration levels can wane. So I think a creative midfielder, along with Bentancur, who's brilliant at keeping the ball, I think it won't sort all our problems out because the defence is crap, as I say, and nowhere near the level of the Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Walker Rose, and Trippier as well after Walker went. Nowhere near that level. But I don't think it helps that we're constantly putting them under pressure by losing the ball and playing a defensive game. We're an attacking team. Yeah, we're a good counter-attacking team. But again, under the Pochettino, I think that's the proper Spurs way of playing. Attacking teams, keeping possession of the ball. When we don't have the ball, then we can break because there's the option there. But it's keeping the ball, keeping the possession, grinding teams down. Certainly the weaker teams at home and away, grinding teams down. And we've completely lost that under Mourinho. A sit back and counter. He can do that at Chelsea because he had the players there who were capable of sitting back, keeping a lead, and then breaking. Tottenham, he hasn't got that. He didn't have that, and he never had that, and he was never going to have that. So we've got to start playing back into our way of playing. And to start, we need a creative midfielder. James Maddison, someone like that. Whether that's him, I'm not sure. That Aouar from Lyon, I'm not sure if I've butchered his name or not. He's free in the summer. Bob Spur TV, big shout out to him. He put a list on YouTube and Twitter of all the players who are free this summer. He was one of those. So again, with the Kane, do you cut your losses and sell him? You've got to sell him for a little bit of cut price because people aren't going to pay an absolute fortune because they just wait a year and then get him free. Same with Aouar, Don't know what he's worth. Let's say he's worth 50 million. All right, here's 25 million. He's got less than a year left on his contract. And then you get a quality player. We did the same, Basuma, regardless of how he's done with Spurs, at Brighton, he was superb. So 35 million was a snip for the player that played at Brighton. Ignore the fact how he's played with us. Because his contract was running out as well. So I think a creative midfielder is essential. And then the next one on my list, right wing back, because... Oh, is it? I don't know. No, scrap that. Central midfielder, creative midfielder, then a central defender, a top quality central defender. I play Football Manager a lot, and Chelsea have just signed that Badish Shile or whatever his name is. He's superb on that game. Whether he's good in real life, I don't know. 35 million, good. But the issue there is he's 21, so he's not ready to come straight in. So that's the issue there. Even though he's full of potential, at 21, and he could be the best thing since sliced bread, he's unproven. We need someone who's proven and a leader in there. I'm not sure. Bastoni's the obvious choice. He ain't leaving Inter Milan. He'd been gone by now if he was leaving. If Conte signs a new contract, that could change. But again, I'm still not sure. But we need a central defender and then the right wing back. I think Doherty can do a job up until the end of the season. But again, you want to win leagues, Champions Leagues, doing a job ain't good enough. You need players in there who are completely adept and qualified to do their job and do it well, rather than, put him in there, he can do a job. That's not good enough. So we still need a lot. We've got a little bit of a core now, Romero. He's the one that you build your defence around. Okay. He's our central defender. We're building it around. We were blessed in the Pochettino time. We had two of them, Alderweireld and Vertonghen. But Conte needs to decide what kind of team he's playing. And this Palace game, the dross in the first half and then the swashbuckling and just looking like score at will in the second half. Where the hell... made myself cough with the absolute shock of what happened. Where the hell did that come from? Jacob was on Tommy's channel, Hotspur Hood. Make sure you check that out as well. I think his name was Jacob. If not, I do apologise. Don't know his surname either, so I do apologise. He was speculating that Conte goes out to defend, didn't work. Okay, second half, go and see what you can do, and then we obviously blow Palace away. Yeah, I think he's got a point there. There's got to be something. Conte is so stubborn, and obviously Levy has to take a lot of the flack for what he's done and not done. I go back to Pochettino again. He wanted Mane, we got Ng or Nkudu, one of the two. He wanted Ronaldo, we got Sissoko. Pochettino as the manager has told the chairman who he wants, and the chairman goes out and gets someone else. And there's hundreds of stories, I would imagine, from different managers. Same with Redknapp. He wanted Suarez, I think, when he was at Ajax, and then Levy goes out and buys Louis Saha. So he's got to take a huge amount of flack for that as well. But at the same time, Conte is an elite coach, and there's no doubt about that. So coach the players that you've got. And I've got the stubbornness, and it's starting to wind me up a little bit. And if he's not going to play, not the Tottenham way, but the way that we are obviously getting results, which is attacking teams, and he's just going to sit back, similar to how Jose does, I don't think he's long for Tottenham. And Levy, if he's not going to sign a contract, we're in a stalemate here. I won't sign a contract unless you show me that you're ambitious. Or Levy will just say, well, I'm not going to give you a shitload of money if you're just going to leave us after a year, so you've got to sign a contract. where someone's got to give, and these are two people who will not back down at all. Not back down at all. So who does it help? It helps nobody. It doesn't help the club. Doesn't help Conte because he's not getting assurances. Doesn't help Levy because he's not getting assurances. Doesn't help Kane because he's in a team that is going to do fuck all and he's not going to win anything apart from a golden boot maybe and Jimmy Greaves' record. And he's 2 off that now, I think. Is it 2 off or 3 off? I can't remember. But wouldn't it be lovely for him if he gets that in the Arsenal game and a winning goal at that? He's going to break it this season. And then, has he achieved everything he can at Tottenham? Because let's face it, we ain't going to win the league with this current crop. And unless something changes, or we get hugely lucky with the youth, or Levy puts his hand in his pocket, or we get taken over, I can't see how we're going to progress and start winning leagues. Something's got to change, and it doesn't help anybody. So they're both to blame. Levy has obviously got a huge of a lot of blame. And I'm Levy out because I think it's time that he moved on. Because if he isn't, we have a cash cow for him. Whereas I've always said, I think he's done a brilliant job as an off-the-pitch chairman. He's made us financially very secure. I'm slightly too young to remember. My dad told me, Irving Scholler, we almost went bankrupt. Alan Shearer saved us, and we weren't particularly profitable under Alan Shearer. Enoch, Levy, Joe Lewis, whoever you want to call it, all three have made us supremely profitable, in this stadium is evidence of that as well. But you've got to do 2 things as chairman. You've got to make yourself profitable, and you've got to make yourself successful on the pitch. And the on-the-pitch stuff, barring a couple of really good seasons, lucky seasons where we were punching with Pochettino, hasn't been good enough. So take your money, give it to someone else. But then that runs the risk of, you get all the Arabic countries and everything like that who take you over. And then you lose. You just become another one of those, another City, another Chelsea, another PSG. So you've got to be careful on there. But just spend the money. Just give Conte what he wants. Conte isn't going to be asking for Mbappe at £200 million because he's not stupid. He's not going to be asking for that. He's going to be asking for a top quality defender, presumably right back as well. Ian has said here, Skriniar and De Vrij, both older, but contracts running down. Is that the issue? We've heard Conte say as well, the club's philosophy is young players, and, West, you can't just have that. You can't. I know Alan Hansen famously said you won't win anything with kids, but that Man United team had about 4 or 5 kids and other older heads as well. It wasn't a team full of 20-year-olds. You had the Brian Robsons, you had the Roy Keanes, you had the Cantonards, you had the Peter Schmeichels, you had the Steve Bruce. Older heads. You need older heads to help those young players get through. And you need a mix. So a couple of people like that would not go amiss at all. Certainly in that defence until we get that sorted out and get a kind of new Vertonghen and Alderweireld in terms of 2 top players at the top of their game who aren't particularly old. And Ben mentions in terms of what I was saying, Aston Villa asked 50 million for Grealish, Levy offers 2, and Josh Onoma. Absolutely. What the fuck is 15 million when you're making God knows how much on stadiums and events? Just spend 15 million. And that, if Pochettino said, I want Grealish, go get Grealish for 15 million if that's what they want. It's a no-brainer. Just go get him. That's what your most successful manager in your era, and certainly in our era since Bill Nicholson, has asked for. He deserved, and Mane as well. Only 30 million from Southampton at the end of the day. What's that? Nothing. So yeah, Levy has got to start listening to the managers and brilliant businessman. Like I say, he's done brilliantly well getting us financially stable and everything like that. Fuck off from the footballing side. Leave that to your manager and your director of football to sort out. If they ask for too much money, I want this player for 300 million, then you can step in and go, no, we can't do that. I want this player for 20 million. Okay, fine. You go talk to him. Here's the plane ticket. That's what's going to happen. Conte has obviously got his list of players. He's probably got a list of about 10 players. And even if this was a Man City's chairman, probably not going to get all of those 10. And that's fine. Maybe all of those 10 in the next year, including this window. I think that's acceptable. Give Conte some assurances that you're going to go and get the players that he wants. Otherwise, what I can see here, I said when Conte was appointed, 18-month contract, Poch had 18 months left at PSG. After that 18 months, Conte will go, Poch will come back in. And I've got a horrible feeling here that January isn't going to be what Conte wants. All right, fuck this, I'm off. To appease the fans, which is what the Conte appointment was in the first place, after the Nuno debacle and then the Man United performance, Conte was brought in to appease the fans, and it worked for a little bit. And I think fans are starting to see through that now. Poch will be brought in to appease the fans again. And I love Poch. Too early for him. Still got the same chairman. Still most of the players that kind of sold him under the bus as well. Too early for him. But I can see that happening. And then we're stuck in another limbo again. I mean, Poch will go into the youth. Harvey White, I think, is creative, and I think he will get a shot under Poch. A big shout out to him as well. Harvey White, brilliant for him getting his Premier League debut in the last few minutes against Palace as well. Alfie Devine is another one. I think if Poch came in, Alfie Devine very quickly would become one of our key players. Dane Scarlett would be given a chance as well. And let's not forget, Dane Scarlett's in a similar situation to Kane was, little unknown, been on loan. And then, what Kane's done isn't the worst thing in the world, is it? But too early for Poch, and I think that's what will happen. So my, Conte gets appointed 18 months down the line. Poch is back in. It's starting to look likely for me again. And while I love Poch and want him to come back, not yet. But I think that's what will happen. Unless Levy cops up, does what Conte wants. But then Conte also has to stop being so stubborn, in my opinion. And I'm not saying Conte out at all, but you can still have criticism of someone that you really like in the club. I think that Palace first half, god awful. Second half, we attack them. That's how we go and win. Man City away, you have to sit back and counter. If you go toe-to-toe them, you're going to get killed. Same with Liverpool. So that's fair enough. But against teams like Aston Villa sitting back, not a chance. You've got to be attacking them. They sat back in that entire game, first half. We had 2 shots. Absolutely ridiculous. Comment from Ben. Any coincidence that we've turned some of the most respected director of footballs into failures. Baldini, Paratici, Paul Mitchell, even Steve Hitchin were very well respected. Yeah, I mean that speaks, doesn't it, Ben? That you're the director of football, but I'm in charge, and you're doing what I say. You're a puppet. Which you be the fucking director of football. You be the manager if you're that way inclined. Don't put people in who you're just going to throw under the bus. I know they don't care about the football; they care about the money, but it's got to be a bit of both. Got to be a bit of both. And the Supporters Trust has written to him today saying they're not happy with some of the fundamentals, and they will relay the response that they get. I'm not expecting anything from the club. I'm not expecting anything from Levy, which will speak volumes. Silence speaks volumes. But he's got to he's got to go and meet with them. He won't care. He's the chairman. He makes a load of money. If everyone at the club hates him, I know at Palace there were a lot of we want Levy out, but we were obviously away, so it wasn't in the volume that it would be at home. But I think Arsenal, there'll be a lot of that. There'll be a lot of that. We are at home as well. It'd be very interesting, very interesting. But Levy's got to speak to them. He's got to speak to them, and I don't know what he says, but he's got to at least speak to them, because that at least shows willingness. If you just ignore them, it just shows that you don't give a shit, which I don't think he does. So we're in a real interesting situation, and the whole Kane and the contract situation. It was on Tommy's show. There was a little debate on whether the gentleman's agreement actually happened. So I think Jacob said yes. Justin said yes. Justin Coda, how you doing, buddy? And Tommy said yes. And Gareth said he's thinking more and more that it wasn't a thing. I think it was a thing. If there wasn't anything there and then Kane wasn't allowed to leave, I don't think he'd have thrown his toys out of the pram. I think there was something there that was said that you can leave if we don't do this, we don't do that, and a bid comes in. The problem is, I don't think the bid was labelled. I don't think there was a number on it. So Man City offered, I think, 70 million. And Levy has said, if a bid comes in, you can go. But obviously, 70 million is far too small for someone who's got 3 years on his contract and is Harry Kane. But if Levy had said, if a £100 million bid comes in, you can go, that's quantifiable then. So I think the issue is, Kane thought it was any bid, but it's obviously quantifiable in Levy's head, but they haven't clarified the quantity. But either way, Kane, I think, feels he was lied to. So he's not going to trust Daniel Levy now unless something concrete is there to say, we are supporting the team, we're going to go and win leagues. And even then, I still can't believe that someone of Kane's caliber didn't get a release clause put into that contract like Grealish did. Grealish went to Man City because £100 million buyout clause, release clause, sorry. Man City met it. Okay, well, you can speak to him. You have to. That's the law. And then Grealish wanted to go. I'd be amazed if Kane signs a new contract. I'd be even more amazed if he does and he doesn't put some kind of clause like that in. It's tricky for Kane. He is a Spurs legend, and he is going to be the leading scorer of all time because he's going to beat Jimmy Greaves' record, hopefully against Arsenal, like I say, but certainly this season. And so he will be in Spurs folklore. So what do you do then? Do you go for free? Again, if he goes to Chelsea, he's tarnished any kind of reputation he's got, and he will be hated by the Spurs fan base. Even if Spurs fans, including me, if Chelsea are the only one on the table, you go play golf until someone else comes on the table, you sign a contract with us. If he goes to Man United, annoying, very annoying, but at least it's not Chelsea, Arsenal, someone like that. But then there will be some in the fan base that if he does leave and runs his contract down, that will hate him as well. You owe us. We've given you everything you've got. You owe us. So he may, I can see him maybe doing a Michael Owen situation where Michael Owen left Liverpool, but he made sure that they got some money. It's not his fault that Liverpool only accepted 8 million. So, so I can imagine I'll sign a contract, but the release clause is like 70 million, 50 million, something like that. So at least you get some money out of me. But it's a tricky one for Kane because he'll get Jimmy Greaves' record. He wants Shearer's record, so I don't think he's going to Madrid, PSG, anywhere like that. I think he's staying in England, whether it's with Tottenham or someone else. But I think he also cares about what Spurs fans think of him. So if he goes, I don't think he'd go to Chelsea. I think he would just, okay, well, I've got Jimmy Greaves' record. That'll do me. If I don't get Shearer's, I'm not going to Chelsea. But yeah, it's a real interesting one. Real interesting one, I think. And watch this space. Watch this space. Now let's talk about the 3 games. Brentford, good comeback. It was a good comeback, but it was a fucking awful game to have to make that comeback. Again, didn't start, and then we go 2-0 down. The first goal was awful. Second goal, even worse. Not really sure what Dyer was doing. Probably just being Eric Dyer. No one near him. You can control the ball. You can chest it and then clear it. Slicing it, and then the marking was just non-existent. Second half, completely different team again. It's got to stop, hasn't it? I mean, we've been saying that for months now, but it's got to stop. Where is the Spurs that we saw at the end, the last half of last season when we amassed 27 points out of 33 and fired ourselves into the Champions League? Like the Leicester game where we needed to draw, let's just take it to them and kill them. I know they were relegated and they were a lot worse off than Brentford are this season. But the mentality, just kill them off. Yeah, maybe there was a bit of a lag from the World Cup and players tired, and we didn't have Bentancur, we didn't have Kulisevsky. No, we did have Kulisevsky. We didn't have Bentancur. We didn't have Richarlison. But I mean, come on, yeah. We're fighting for top 4 again, and we're trying to keep up with Arsenal. So hopefully, when they have their dip, we can pip them. We don't want another St Totteringham's day, but it was a good comeback. Should never have ever got to that stage. Should have had a penalty as well. I'm not sure why that wasn't given, but again, even if we would have won 3-2, we still would have had to have made a comeback. Unbelievable. And then we come on to the Villa game. I mean, the less said about that, the better, but we'll talk about it a little bit. I mean, absolute shocking. That was where my illness was at its worst. I couldn't get up in the morning. It took me ages to get up and a real struggle to get up. And then I watched the Spurs game and then wished I was back in bloody bed. Villa came there to defend, and certainly in that first half, sit back, defend, and we had 2 shots at goal. Again, back in the Pochettino era, the creative players that we've got, the possession base, the dominance in midfield, we'd have had at least 10, and I'd have been very surprised if we didn't score. And then that, them getting into half time, 0-0, and us not really laying a glove, gives them a lot of confidence. Okay, we can express ourselves a little bit more. And then they go and get their goals. Absolutely shocking. Oh, dear. Lloris again. I said with transfers, my priority list. We need a new number 1 for next year. I love Lloris and what he's done. He's been a terrific servant. But he's not number 1. He's not world class anymore in my book. And you didn't really see that shot late, and he's palmed it straight out. Ollie Watkins did brilliantly to regain his composure and lay it on for whoever scored, but should never have even come to Ollie Watkins at all. Should never have ever come to him. And yeah, we need a new goalkeeper. And I was hoping we'd have a new goalkeeper now who'd be fighting for him for number 1. So when he does hang up his gloves, got someone who can just come in. Isn't the case. We're going to have to buy someone and then hope he fills his gloves. And it's a similar situation that Man United had when Schmeichel left. someone who, and don't get me wrong, Lloris has been superb. But when Lloris came in, we had Brad Friedel, who was a top quality goalkeeper. Lloris had to earn his stripes to get in there. And if he ever dropped, Friedel was there to come back in until Lloris completely claimed that number 1 jersey for himself. That's what I was hoping, but that's not going to happen. So who would we get? I mean, Jordan Pickford has been named. Please, God, no. He regularly palms shots out into the middle of the pitch. Yeah, he can play with his feet, which would be a massive step up in Lloris on that department. But your first job, your primary job as a goalkeeper is to stop ball going in the back of the net. And you stop that by making saves, and you do that by making saves and getting them out of danger zones. You put them out for a corner, out for a throw. You don't stick them back into the penalty spot, which he does regularly. So for me, not Jordan Pickford. I wanted Nick Pope. He's obviously gone to Newcastle. Diogo Costa from somewhere in Spain. I can't remember who. He'd be a good shout. But again, this ain't going to be cheap. This ain't going to be cheap. You're not going to get a top quality goalkeeper for like the 10 million that we got Lloris for. You're going to spend at least 30. And if you want a top of the range, 60, 70 like Alisson. So yeah, it's going to be, should have done this earlier. But anyway, the Villa game. The midfield, lacking Kulusevski as well was a huge miss. He's not only creative, he's positive. So in a team that are sitting back and passing back, he will get the ball, he'll go forward, other people will join him. So him not there was a huge miss. FA Cup, that's fine. Hopefully he can be back there, play a cameo half hour, get some fitness in, and then go and kill Arsenal the following week. And then, he did well against City last time, so hopefully we can do that again. We need to get him fit. We really need Bentancur as well, but Kulusevski is even more important, I think. And then we come on to the Palace game. We've all kind of talked about it, but the first I recognise the team in the first half. Second half, who's this team in white? I've not seen them for 4 years. This is what we need to do. And attack teams. It would have been a completely different game if Palace had have scored when they were all over us at the middle to end of the first half, because I think our confidence would have dropped. And we wouldn't have come out, still level, and then still all to play for. And Palace would have got the noses in front, smelt blood, and then they could have easily got a second. So we got lucky in that respect. Lloris made a wonderful save. Instinctive saves, superb. Decision making, god awful. So that's where we need a new goalkeeper, I think. But yeah, that Palace game, and I don't understand the complete change why we didn't play like that in the first half. First 5 minutes of that first half, we looked like we were bang up for it, closing them down, and then that suddenly stopped, and then Palace got on top, and then they had all the possession, a couple of chances. Didn't really trouble Lloris apart from that one effort that I've mentioned. And then the Harry Kane show took over. Brilliant cross from Perisic as well, I have to say. Brilliant cross. He's probably, other than Kulusevski and Kane when he's out wide, our only good crosser of the ball. Emerson, I'm not sure, understands the meaning of the verb to cross, let alone being able to cross it. Doherty, I don't think is too bad, but he doesn't get in that position often enough. Son is really off the boil. We'll talk about him in a bit as well. But yeah, the Kane show took over. His second goal, absolutely superb, unstoppable. And while we're on the subject of the Palace game and players who have really stepped up, I haven't got a picture. But Hill, in particular, let's start back with him. Is he worthy of a start against Portsmouth? Absolutely worthy of a start. And, it was his ball to Perisic. Easy ball out to Perisic for the first goal. But, how many times have we said, certainly about players, easy ball and they've messed it up? And recognised that Perisic was in space. Perisic did the rest. The second goal, lovely pass zipped into Kane. And brilliant touch by Kane for the control and then the finish, instinctive. But yeah, Hill deserves huge credit for that. I know Ian Wright was full of praise for him on Match of the Day after the game when he was doing the punditry and what have you. there's a player in there. He's a little lightweight. So it might be the best thing to play against Portsmouth, because that would be the kind of team he'd be playing against if he was on loan. And obviously it's Portsmouth as well. So Dane Scarlett's got a point to prove there. So even if he scores, not the end of the world, because it will show the club what we've got there as a striker. But obviously I want to win. But Hill, little lightweight. So if he bulks up, he's got the skills, he's got the confidence, because he does try and take people on. And then he just needs a performance or a goal or whatever to give him the confidence. So hopefully this will go some way towards that. And then Papi Sarr as well. Kept the ball nicely. Didn't give it away. I know Palace were done by then, so they're probably not closing down as much as they would in the first half, and while the game's level and there for both teams. But he didn't do himself any harm at all. I thought he played quite well against Villa as well, keeping it ticking, trying to make things happen. So those two I would definitely be starting against Portsmouth. See what they're about from the start of the game. Give them 60 minutes. If Kulusevski's there, 60 minutes, take Hill off, bring Kulu on, give him half hour to strut his stuff, get his fitness up. Then unleash him against Arsenal. That's what I'd do. But yeah, and Sarr, stick him in the middle. Give Højbjerg a vest. Basuma can be your little holding player. And again, if Bentancur's ready, an hour, bring him on. Then unleash him against Arsenal. Because we have to beat Arsenal. We can't have them. I can't have them winning the league. Fine if they beat us in the league, but do not win the league. I mean, that would be unbearable. We'll never hear the end of it. And they've got a tricky run of games coming up. They had Newcastle, which they drew, dropped points there. Man City have clawed 2 back. And they've got Man United, who are no mugs at the moment either, and then North London derby at Tottenham, which we saw what happened last year, and it's all about who wants it more. If they can get through those 2 games now with 2 wins, I think they'll win the league, but I don't think they will. I think they'll drop points, whether that's Man United, us, or both. I'm not sure. I think they'll drop points, and I think City will take advantage. Obviously, hopefully not too much advantage, because they do have us, Man City, and hopefully we can beat them. Hopefully that's when Arsenal play United, and both one Manchester club wins against Arsenal and another one loses against us. But certainly that North London derby is huge. It's absolutely huge, and we can put a real dent in Arsenal's campaign. So yeah, that's what I'd do. Hill, Sarr, not done themselves any harm at all in Hill's game against Palace and Sarr's cameo. Stick him in. Stick Harvey White in as well. But we're not going to win the league. Barring some kind of miracle, we won't win the Champions League. We can't win the Carabao Cup. This is a chance of silverware. So I wouldn't be putting your full second side out, but I wouldn't be putting the full first 11 out when we've got Arsenal next. But it needs to be a strong team. To go and win, because this is a chance. Certainly if teams go out, I think it's Chelsea versus City, I think, in the cup as well. So one of those teams is going out. So you never know about giant killings as well. Chance for us to win silverware. So we can't take it lightly by putting, our Europa League squad out. But I would be giving chances to people who have impressed, like Sarr, like Hill. Certainly. That's what I'd be doing. But let's hope we can beat Portsmouth and then Arsenal. And let's just hope Levy throws a curveball and actually does stuff to help the team and help Conte, and Conte in kind can play the way that we play better, which is attacking teams, not just sitting back and waiting for things to happen rather than going and making things happen. And Portsmouth is the first step of that. So let's just hope we can pick up the win against Portsmouth. A nice, good victory, good for confidence. And on Son, I forgot about Son. His goal against Palace, obviously deflected, but the amount of bad luck he's had this year, hopefully that's a changing of the guard in that respect, that where he was getting bad luck, he's now going to get good luck, and it can give him a bit of confidence. And Because there were times when he was 1-1 and he looked like he didn't know what he was doing. Whereas when have you ever said that about Son before? 1-1, didn't know what he was doing. He looks so assured normally. So hopefully that gives him a bit of confidence. I'd start him against Pompey. Wouldn't necessarily start Kane. Son up top. Go get yourself some goals. Get your confidence back up. And again, unleashed against Arsenal. That's what I'd do. But that's pretty much it for today. Just my kind of 2 cents on the last 7 weeks, being that I've not been here for 7 weeks. Everyone else that you see on streams and has been on here in the past has obviously had their say on that on other streams and everything like that. So I wanted to just give my take in less than an hour on everything. And then Monday we'll be back looking at the Arsenal, the Pompey game, and looking forward to the Arsenal game. I think that's first. It might be Man City though. Yeah, it might be Man City. Looking forward to the next Premier League game with guests, hopefully. So it won't just be me. And yeah, and then back to normal. So Fridays, 12:30 p.m. UK time. Mondays, 7:30 p.m. UK time. Chris's Magic as well. If you like a little bit of magic, that's my kind of side hustle. If you like a magic trick, every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. UK time. So when it drops, it's not live, so it just drops and is available to view. So please check that out. And you've heard me say Tottenham on Tour, Hotspur Hood, Bob Spur, Shelfside Spurs Show, Ben's Coffee Company, but he's also on Tottenham on Tour now as well, so make sure you check them out. You know the drill, nothing's changed in the respect that all of these great Spurs channels that are still around and have been around while I've been off. Make sure you check all of those out. I'll be back on Monday, hopefully talking about a win over Pompey and a favourable FA Cup draw, and we can look ahead to the Man City and Arsenal games. So until then, come on you Spurs. Thanks so much for watching. For everybody who joined in the live chat and added comments, before you go, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, please hit that notification bell. That'll give you a notification every time we're about to go live, and it's all completely free. For those who missed the live show, you can catch this whenever you want on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube channel. Please also hit the like, subscribe and notification bell, and everybody please leave feedback, comments, suggestions in the comments section on the YouTube videos. For those of you who listen to the audio podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that audio podcast should pick that up wherever you get your podcast from. We're back Mondays 7:30 p.m. UK time and Fridays 12:30 p.m. UK time. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter at @LTalkTottenham, Instagram Let's Talk Tottenham Podcast, you can find all the information there. Anyone who wants something a little bit different, also do a magic show. So I do one trick a week, which drops Wednesday 7:30 p.m. UK time. Chris's Magic on YouTube is where you'll find that. But in the meantime, come on you Spurs.